How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FPL, and welcome back to the Deadline with Dayvy live stream. Not quite a deadline with Dayvy this week. Unfortunately, I can't produce the stream tomorrow before the deadline, so I thought I would just get it out there for you guys and hopefully answer some questions. I don't know how long the stream's going to be going on for. Hello to you guys in chat. I can see there's quite a few of you, but you're probably watching this on replay, so please do enjoy it. Right off the bat here, OneFootball is sponsoring the stream, so go check them out in the link down below. It's a free app that has everything football related. I personally just follow the Premier League, so that's got most of my information there. And as you can see, we've got some very tasty fixtures lined up for 27 and kind of concluding with this Monday night fixture where I'm pretty sure a lot of our captains are going to be. But that's our sponsor for the video. Let's get on to my own team. So as the title said there, we're going to be talking about some Son replacements in a little bit, as well as whatever questions you guys have. So basically, as long as there's going to be questions, there will be a live stream. I don't know how long, as I said, this is going to go for, but thanks a lot for you. Thanks a lot to you guys who have joined here. We have Sultan Saeed hitting us up with that first comment. How's it, Davey? How's it, Sultan, Michelle, and Flinrod Fell, Paul Sigurd, Alvin Blocks is also here. Paul G. Rid and Nathi, I think that's how you pronounce it. So how are you guys doing there? Hopefully your teams are ready. There's not many kind of news that has come out. The big one is Henderson, not the Sheffield United keeper, the Liverpool midfielder. He is probably going to be out for 3 weeks, so I know that he was doing quite well. So if you did bring him in, it's a little bit unfortunate, but that's probably the only big kind of talking point going through. Also, that Klopp said that there wasn't really any need to rotate as the next fixture's in a little bit. So I'm hoping that the likes of Salah and Mane both do get a start. Currently on the Mane captain, just because it's a little bit of a differential, but we'll be talking about that captaincy option quite a bit later on. So if any of you guys do have some kind of press conference news, as I know there's press conferences still going on till about 5 p.m. my side. It was also raining, so apologies if there's a little bit of background noise there, but I'm pretty sure that my voice should drown out most of that. And we also have James saying, hi Australia here, so probably liking the little bit of an earlier stream there, James. Happy to be able to produce it. Same time around the deadline stream, so hopefully it's not too bad. Hopefully there's not too many people working right now, and this isn't that much of a distraction to you. But in terms of captaincy, we'll talk about that right now. I think there's probably two options that people are looking at. Actually three, if to be honest, but it's probably the safer options than the more differential. So the safer options, 100% is going to be Salah. So if you want safety this week, go for Salah. He has his ownership and his form, which makes him probably the safest captaincy option. I don't think Mane is that unsafe, but there's just kind of the potential that if Salah bangs and Mane doesn't, that's going to be quite a drop in rank. But then you also have options like Danny Ings and Raul Jimenez. Both have really good fixtures and both are in good form, so they could also be nice differential options if you want to kind of go a little bit sideways from the Liverpool assets. But I think that's basically where my differentials will extend to. I don't think the fixtures on the other teams are that great, besides Wolves, Southampton, and Liverpool. So I would definitely look at captaining someone in that kind of department. In terms of some Son replacements, and these are kind of my favorite options to go for. So I think a lot of people own De Bruyne, so we're not going to touch on him. I don't know exactly if I would be bringing De Bruyne in if I didn't have him. I think if you don't have De Bruyne and you do have Son, that's probably going to be the most sideways move you can go for, and probably the safest move to do, as he is quite highly owned, so you kind of want to jump on him so that if he does bang or get a lot of points, you kind of have some safety there. But I do think my option, personally, that would be my favorite. I'm basically classifying everyone to have Salah, so I would go for Mane. I think that's going to be your best option to go for. A little bit of a nice differential there still. Mane not owned by a lot of people, and why I'm kind of captaining him because of that whole differential aspect and his ownership. So I think if you can extend that budget to get Mane, I would go for him, but I do understand that that's the kind of not the set player to get, because a lot of people usually, when they're going to transfer out a premium option, they usually don't have that much in the bank. So we'll be talking about some other options now that we could be looking at. I think my favorite, as I said, is Mane, but then you could also look at some other options. If you just look at midfielders, you can see that there's quite a couple of people that are doing well. Probably the standout's going to be Richarlison because of his price point, but his fixtures are quite terrible. Arsenal is not the worst. United as well. That could be quite good. So you might want to bring him in. It's a little bit annoying if Everton do blank. I don't know if they will. Just look at their fixture. But against Norwich, that could be someone in game week 31 that we could be looking at. if they do have a fixture in Game Week 31, then I think that he looks like a really nice option to bring in. And I mean, I said he's a standout just because of that price point. 8.2, surrounded by these almost double-digit in terms of team values players that you can get. And Grealish is also a nice option, but I'm also thinking about maybe transferring out because of that Game Week 28 blank. So I don't know if I'll be bringing him in. The one that I've kind of highlighted is the more budget options. If you want to upgrade another department, maybe it's the likes of your forwards. If you want to bring maybe Connolly out for Raul Jimenez, you could always just downgrade Son. Maddison's a little bit of a hit or miss for me. I don't know if he's going to be producing, not against Man City, which kind of makes it a little bit hard. If maybe we skipped the Man City game and we went straight into the Norwich game, I could understand it. But the player that I was looking at, you could look at someone like Harvey Barnes. He also looks quite good. But then there's also Traore. If you don't own Traore, I think that I would bring him in because of those really nice fixtures. Wolves also, they're not going to be blanking in Game Week 28 and in Game Week 31. So that definitely should be a set starter. He also came off at 60 minutes last night, so I think that he will be playing the next one. So I'm quite happy with having Traore in. So I think if you want a budget option and upgrade somewhere else, I would look at Traore. I mean, imagine if you brought Traore in and then you were able to upgrade someone like Connolly to Raul Jimenez. That could be a perfect kind of Wolves combination. But I don't think there's many options that I would look at outside of that. I think with Dele Alli, I would personally prefer Lucas Moura. I think Moura is going to be playing a little bit more forward than Dele Alli, so you could look at him. Bergwijn, you could also look at him. That's also Bergwijn if you are used to that pronunciation as a really differential punt, but you still want to stay on that kind of Spurs fixtures. The Spurs fixtures, not the worst in the world, but not that great either. Wolves is a tough home fixture for them as well, and Burnley away can also be a little bit hit or miss. But if you want to stay on Spurs and you might be a Spurs fan, you could also look at them. But I think that Harvey Barnes, Traore, if you want to go budget, my number one option, probably going to be Mane. But then if you want to take more of a little bit of a differential punt, I think that you just stick with Spurs and just go with whoever. And if you don't have De Bruyne, obviously, I think that you should bring him in because he looks almost essential. I don't think it's essential in terms of he's going to be scoring a lot of points, but essential because a lot of people own him. Basically has 100% ownership whenever he plays, so you don't want to kind of miss it out. Ejaz saying, what is the deadline today? No, it's not today. The deadline is not today, guys. Please don't think it is. You can still make your transfers and everything. It's going to be tomorrow. For me, my local time, it's 1:30, but for you, it's probably going to be about 3:30. So just keep your eyes on that one. But I'm just doing this deadline stream because I cannot do it tomorrow. So someone is asking there, and Nikhil saying cheap Connolly replacement. So what I'm currently thinking of doing next game week is maybe taking out Jack Grealish, downgrading him, and then upgrading Connolly to Shane Long. I think that Shane Long has some really nice fixtures coming up, and he is quite a budget option. So I think in these kind of blank game weeks coming up, it's going to be a nice option to just have. He can be benched, but as you can see, he started the last couple minutes, doesn't really get a full 90, but I'm perfectly happy if he just gets 70 minutes every game. And then look at the Southampton fixtures. They have some really nice fixtures coming up, and at 4.6 million, I think he's a nice little compliment to Danny Ings. So I think that Shane Long's probably the one to look at. I don't think there's many other around that 4.5 mark starting strikers that we can afford. So Shane Long's definitely on my radar. I probably will be watching to see if he does start. Southampton, sometimes I worry a little bit about rotation, but I don't think there's going to be too much. Other questions, so hopefully that covers Son. If you do have a specific option that you want me to look at, just say Son to this player and I'll probably do a little bit of a review on it. Grealish and Connolly to 6 mid and Jimenez for -4, hit or hold. It depends, Anthony, on whoever you're playing instead of Connolly. So I really like that move because at a 6 mid and Jimenez, you can maybe afford, you can definitely afford Harvey Barnes and Raul Jimenez. But then Jack Grealish still has the potential to do well this game week. I don't think that he's going to do badly. I just don't really think that I would be looking at him because of the blank. So I wouldn't be bringing in Jack Grealish, but I do think that you should be keeping him. But it all depends on who you're playing instead of Connolly. If it's a perfectly fine player in defense, then I don't think it's worth the -4 hit. But if you honestly don't have any bench players, they've all lost their spots, then I do think it's worth taking the -4. If Liverpool does blank in game week 31, would you free hit? So if Liverpool blank, I don't think I have an option but to free it. I've tripled up on their, doubled up on their attack and one defender. So if Liverpool blank, I have almost no players, so I'll be forced to play my free hit. But I do think that there is a chance that Liverpool won't blank. I think that Chelsea are going to win that FA Cup game, especially if Liverpool don't put out a good lineup. So I do think that I will have those Liverpool players, and then it's kind of a different story. But it almost makes it a little bit easier if Liverpool do go through, as it kind of gives us a strategy to just go by. Mahrez to Zaha, asks Ross Keane. I do think that I would be looking at transferring Mahrez out. Just too much of a rotation risk for me. And in terms of Zaha, it's probably the player that no one's been mentioning. I think the kind of heat has got off him a little bit. A lot of people were on him early on in the season, but I do think that could be a good kind of transfer to do. I know Crystal Palace just because of their defense, not because of their attack. But they have some nice fixtures coming up, and I don't think it's a terribly bad option, especially because there's not many great options around Zaha's price. Is Bruno Fernandes someone we seriously need to consider before he becomes highly owned? So the thing with United players that happens basically every year is there's a ton of Manchester United players, a ton of Manchester United fans that play FPL. It's one of the most highly supported leagues teams in the world. So whenever a United player does well, a lot of people bring him in. That's just naturally. If you support the team, you want to bring in their players. With Bruno Fernandes, though, 8.1 million, not too much of a risk, but I don't know if I'd be jumping on. Everton away is a tough fixture, and then Man City at home. You can't really be betting against a team that's playing Man City or Liverpool. Those are the toughest fixtures in the league. It could be a derby, so we never know, but I do think it's a kind of wait and see. I would be a little bit more comfortable with maybe taking a punt on another play. If you want to take a one game week punt, maybe Watford at home, not the worst fixture in the world, but Watford also defensively aren't that shabby. But I do think that I wouldn't really advise Bruno Fernandes. He could still do well. Maybe if you need a mega differential, then I'd look at him. But otherwise, there could be other options to go for. If you're going to say, if you don't own Traore, I would say bring Traore in rather than Fernandes and then upgrade one of your other positions. So basically, Traore is the budget option to go for, and I kind of think a lot better than other people. I honestly agree with you on that one. I'm not tuning United fans or anything that happens. I'm a Liverpool fan. I've triple Liverpool. I mean, that kind of says it itself. It's just how human beings are naturally when it comes to FPL. I mean, if you remember a couple of seasons ago, the guy who won never had any Liverpool players in his lineup because I think he supported Everton. So that could be something. I'm getting Patricio in. Is it better this week or game week 29? So if you look at Wolves' fixtures, it kind of depends on who you're taking out. If who you're taking out has good fixtures in game week 28, then maybe keep them. But I think that it's perfectly fine to bring Patricio in right now. I think that against Tottenham, you can get some save points, maybe even a clean sheet. We saw with Leicester how they managed to keep a clean sheet. So I don't think it's out of the question with Spurs. So if you have no other transfers you want to do, I think bring Patricio in, especially if your goalkeeper right now doesn't have a great fixture. Keep or sell Lundstrom, already have Stevens. Igor, it depends on your bench and who you're going to be bringing in. So if you're perfectly happy with starting Lundstrom, even if he doesn't start, comes off the bench, maybe gets a return like he did last game week, then I would just keep him. But if you have a guy on your bench that does have a nice fixture and could get you more points than Lundstrom, then I would just play that player, or I would just transfer out Lundstrom. You know how I feel about him. I transferred him out last game week because of O'Connell. Kind of bit me a little bit, but I'm hoping that over the rest of the season it kind of pays me off, because I don't think that his place is stuck or his place is secured in that lineup. I mean, I don't think they would have signed their new player in that transfer window if his place wasn't. We'll play Grealish against McCarthy and Stevens. Okay, that's... are you answering someone else's question? Apologies there, I thought you were asking me one. Hi, Dayvy. You are benching Lascelles for Rico, ? So right now I am benching Lascelles for Rico. I'm just thinking of a more attacking threat than him. I don't think Lascelles is a particularly bad option, but I kind of favor Crystal Palace at home to maybe get a goal. I know that Newcastle over the current kind of weeks have been doing a little bit better, but I do think that they'll concede, and I think Rico and Lascelles will concede, so I'm going for the more attacking player. That didn't work out last game week when I benched Soyuncu, but I'm hoping that this week the logic pays off a little bit. Who should I play, Guaita or Henderson in the coming game week, I'd play Henderson there. I don't trust Guaita. I only have to play him because I own him. So I don't trust Guaita at all. Milan saying Saiz. That's also a nice option to go for. Might be a little bit of a rotation risk, so if you can squeeze that budget up to Willy Bolly, then I think he's a better option to go for. But if your budget is really constrained, then I don't think Saiz is a bad option. If you were ranked 70k, would you still gone mad, captain or Salah? I'm kind of around that 70k mark, just below the 100k mark, so a little bit of difference there. But we're probably in a little bit of similar positions. I just kind of feel like with every game week kind of going on now, I have to try and make some moves to get into that top 10k. I don't see that much difference to finishing 100k or 150k. So I'm going for Mane captain. I just think it's too hard to resist a player that is 21% owned compared to Mo Salah's 45%. Half his ownership, less than half. Not in a lot of live teams, so I'm going for a captain. I mean, if we're going for Salah because it's West Ham, we can go for Mane because it's West Ham. I do agree that Salah's in better form, and maybe coming across that deadline, we could maybe see the captaincy switch to Salah, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be the set lineup, and I'm probably going to distract myself tomorrow to kind of just stick with this lineup. Hopefully Guaita finally gives you some massive points. So I do think Guaita, out of the game weeks that just have happened, I do think that he has a potential out of those fixtures to get a clean sheet this game week. So I am hoping for the best. Should I start Lucas Dean or Rico? So Everton do have Arsenal. I think that I would probably go for Dean in that case, because I think Everton a lot better defense than Bournemouth, and I think that Lucas Dean also offers that attacking threat. So, excuse me there. So I would go for Lucas Dean. Would you go for Lacazette? So the only way I would go for Lacazette is I would go from if Arsenal have a double game week coming up. So I don't think they're going to be having a double game week in game week 29. But if it's in the foreseeable future, then I would probably look at Lacazette. I just don't know how to predict that Arsenal lineup though, because there's been quite a lot of rotation around there. And I don't think that Mikel Arteta is scared to bench one of Lacazette or Aubameyang if he sees fit. Vincent saying, Dayvy legend, any electricity outages this weekend? So I had last night from 7 to 9 and then 1 to 3 this morning. Probably going to be having again tomorrow, I think, but it's probably going to be a little bit later on. Fortunately, Liverpool only play on Monday night, so I'm hoping that we don't have load shedding then. Start Fleck or Traore. I think those are great options there, VAR. So maybe send me who you're benching currently and who you're starting in terms of budget options, and then I'll tell you maybe who to swap out from your starting 11. Thoughts on Holgate? Is he not supposed to play now? I don't think so. He was benched last game week, if I can recall correctly. So I don't think that's going to be a set starting in the starting lineup in the future. So I don't think we can kind of count on him that much. The nice thing about Holgate is, as a defender, they usually don't get substituted that much. So maybe just play him and hope for the best. Mr. Meek 5, hey Davey, need your help thinking of changing Trent Alexander-Arnold to Gomez and Saint-Maxime to Martial. What do you think, pal? So I never going to kind of advise taking out Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think give it another game week there, Mr. Meek. I think that I would probably just play Saint-Maxime and just hope for the best there, because, I mean, Trent Alexander-Arnold just has so much attacking threat, especially against a side like West Ham. I think that he could go on for a haul. Heisenback saying, hi, Davey, please replace Vardy for Mane is a good. So who are you bringing in for Vardy then? I don't know if I would be making the move to replace Vardy for Mane. I think there were a couple of questions at the start of the stream about Vardy. So I'm going to be keeping Vardy. I just don't think it's worth having kept him for all these bad fixtures here with these 0 points and then taking him out one game week before Norwich and Aston Villa, especially because he has this nice blank fixture in game week 28. So I'm going to be keeping out of Vardy. I think that he's going to come right and hoping that he does well. JCCR saying, hi, any transfers this week, David? I haven't made any transfers this week. I've just kind of backed that transfer. Triple up on Spurs. I think that could be a nice option. Just make sure your options from Wolves are guaranteed, because with the Europa League, it's not like the Champions League. They're playing games basically every week now because of just the Europa League, for some reason, makes it a round of 32 instead of a round of 16. So they're going to have a lot of fixtures coming up. So I'm hoping that because they won 4-0, because they won 4-0, they'll be rested in the second leg. Should I sell Grealish even after the blank? So I'm probably going to be selling Grealish before the blank. He has a blank fixture, then Leicester away, not the best fixture, and then Chelsea. And then Newcastle Wolves. I mean, Newcastle Wolves have also been quite defensively sure. And then finishes it off with a lovely Liverpool fixture. So I think I'll be giving him Southampton, and then I'll be taking him out before the blank. Igor saying, planning to sell Firmino for Vardy next week. That could be a nice option. And it could probably open up your double defense, which could also work for you from Liverpool. Best options to replace Matt Ryan. So if you look at Matt Ryan's fixtures here, doesn't have the worst fixtures or the best fixtures in the world, but I can understand why you want to take him out. So the option that I'd probably go for is someone like, I think it's McCarthy. I think I am correct. Someone just correct me in chat if I'm wrong. But McCarthy has some nice fixtures coming up, and he's probably the only keeper that you can kind of downgrade to, as his price is quite cheap. Cool Bear saying, hey Dave, hope you're doing well. I am doing well. Hopefully you are too. My front line is Ings, Vardy, and Calvert-Lewin. Want Jimenez back, but don't know who to sell. So kind of who I'm going for is I always play the fixtures, so I'd probably say lose Calvert-Lewin. But I can understand why that's quite a predicament to be in, because Calvert-Lewin is, I think he's top for big chances I had in the last couple game weeks. It's a really tough spot to be in. Maybe if you can kind of, I think if you're going to do it this game week, then I don't think Vardy's going to do much. But I think that Calvert-Lewin could do something against Arsenal. So I think that you might have to play it on that case and just go for Vardy out, because if you're going to be able to kind of bench or accept that he's not going to do much against Man City and just hold him for these next game weeks. But I think for your own team, probably Calvert-Lewin might just be a hold because of the Arsenal fixture. If you were doing the transfer next game week, which I probably think you could do, I think you might be able to just hold on. Then obviously you're just going to keep Vardy because of how good his fixtures are. Chelsea double game week in 29 likely. I think that's probably been called the Man City double game week, James, because Man City probably the most owned team besides Liverpool. So the Chelsea Man City double game week in 29 could be likely. Just stick to Ben Crellin, as I mentioned in that chip strategy video. He'll probably tell you. What's your plan with Guaita? Probably going to be holding on to him, especially if he has a game in game week 31. I know it's against Liverpool and he's going to be conceding probably, but a playing goalkeeper is worth kind of the not taking a hit to have a full starting 11 for me. Captain Jimenez or Ingsy. So if you have to decide between those two, I'd probably go for Ingsy. Especially if you do own Traore and Jimenez both, then I would captain Jimenez just because you're already doubling up on them. So you might as well go all out and kind of hope that Wolves smash Norwich. Hey Davey, what's your plan if you did bank your transfer this game week? So what I'm going to be doing, Wilson, is probably taking Grealish out to someone like Harvey Barnes and then upgrading Connolly to Shane Long. And that'll hopefully give me some players in blank game week 28. Doherty or Johnny, if you can afford Doherty, I would go for him. Looks like a great option. Stats are currently backing him up a lot, so I do think that that's probably my preferred option. But if you don't have the budget for him, then Johnny's not a bad pop as well. Vincent saying, I used my only free transfer and got Son in because his injury news pop. Should I take a -4 hit and replace him with a dumb Traore? I would only replace him with Traore if you don't have a bench. If you have a player on your bench that you think could maybe get a clean sheet or an assist, then I would just play them. Transfer out Calvert-Lewin. I think that if you can give him one more game week, then I would. Then I think it's probably a transfer out. But otherwise, I think that you could maybe just keep him and just hope for the best. His price isn't that much, so you can't really hold him to being too accountable for not scoring every week. Hey, whom should I start, Maddison or Lundstrom? I think that I would go for Lundstrom in that case. I don't think that Leicester are going to do well against Man City. I think that's probably going to be quite a boring game. Maybe like a 1-0 or a 2-0 to Man City. So I perfectly accept if you want to bench Vardy or Maddison. I can respect it as well because you want to keep them for those nice fixtures. What's Norwich's form like? I don't think it's that bad, but I know defensively they've kind of reassured themselves. The easiest way is just probably to look at their fixtures and see. So they haven't done terribly badly, but in terms of scoring form, they haven't been that great. So I don't know if I'd be looking at their attack. And their defense is probably not great either. I don't think that it's as good a fixture as we maybe had in the previous game weeks. I think that they are looking a little bit better. I know that the fact that all their centre backs are back is quite a big boost for them. But it's still going to be in my books a good fixture and kind of a good fixture I'm going to be playing on. What Twitter do you use for early team news? So I usually just check whoever's retweeting. The FPL community is usually quite good at sharing news. So I kind of just look on my own feed and just hope that we get some early team news. There has been a couple of people that have been kind of replicating accounts and posting fake team news. I personally think that it makes it a little bit more entertaining. I don't really see the harm in it unless it's the first game week of the first game of the game week, because then I think a lot of people make their transfer moves on it. But if it's kind of a game in between that doesn't really have any matter on our transfers, then I think that it's perfectly fine to just not really post fake team news, but kind of get the community a little bit riled up. One saying, I've had enough of Sidibe. How about Ryan Bertrand with his better fixtures? So I do like that transfer. Bertrand's not someone that I've heard of a lot. Just make sure that his place is cemented there. I know Kyle Walker-Peters is injured now, so I don't know if he plays on the exact side of Bertrand. I'm not that into Southampton's kind of formation. But if he is nailed, then I would go for him. Offers a little bit of attacking threat as well. Martial or Richarlison? I'd probably go Martial because of the fixtures. What's your prediction for the Norwich vs Wolves game? I think that it's going to be 3-1 to Wolves. Thoughts on Richarlison? Good player, tough fixtures coming up, so I don't know if I'd be bringing him in. What are your thoughts on Bergwijn? I would kind of look at him. I think that he provides a nice option, a little bit more cheap. And especially if you want to hold on to Spurs options but not transfer out Son, then I think he could be good. Why Rico over Lascelles? I could maybe play Lascelles, but then I'm hoping for a 0-0. I think that Guaita as Crystal Palace will score against Newcastle, and I think that Rico will also concede. So I'm just playing Rico because of the little bit more of an attacking threat. But Lascelles could be a good option. I might do a little bit more of analysis on that. Luca Dean versus Arsenal after 4-0 at the home last game. So I do think that Everton are a lot better than Newcastle. So I don't think that they're going to be conceding 4. A touch wood. Hopefully I didn't jinx that. But I do think that Luca Dean also offers some attacking threats. So you can always kind of back up on that. Let's hope my captain repays. I have Jimenez as captain. I probably think he will. Probably one of the most guaranteed goal scorers on the weekend, especially against the Norwich side. Sultan Saeed saying Klopp on Monday, he's fine, he's rested. That is good news. I also saw that he said that there's not going to be that much rotation, hopefully, as there's quite a lot of break between. Marcel says KDB or Barnes. So if you don't have KDB, I would recommend bringing him in just because of his ownership. If he goes and bangs and scores a couple of points, then your rank's going to instantly drop. So unfortunately, just one of those transfers. If you really don't think KDB is going to do well in the upcoming game weeks, I can understand that. Then go for Harvey Barnes. But otherwise, I would probably just get De Bruyne. Fernandez from Son. Greetings from Greece. Nice greetings there from Greece. So Fernandez, I would only go for him if you need a mega differential. Otherwise, I would just go for maybe someone a little bit more conservative and a little bit more of a set starter. Not a set starter, but not that much of a differential. Why have you captain Mane over Salah? Doesn't Salah have a better home record? He does have a better home record, probably the more informed player. But I just think that I can't resist Mane probably going to have a less than 10% ownership overall, which is going to be that's just mouth-watering for me. So I think I can't really resist the Mane transfer, especially because I want to try get into that top 10k. The game weeks are kind of going on right now, so I think it's time to kind of make these moves. And I don't really consider that much of a massive differential move, as they're both playing the same fixture and just hoping that Mane can manage to do better than Salah. Thanks, Dayvy. Also, Sidibe to Bali this week, a good move. I think it is a good move. And Martial's captain, only if you have to go a mega differential. Start O'Connell or Bali, I would want to start both of those players. So just reassess your bench and your starting 11 and try and get both of them in. Sell Vardy for Jimenez or keep Vardy. So I'm keeping Vardy, Jose, but you can sell him always. It's a little bit of a tough situation to be in because I can perfectly understand why you want to lose Vardy, but I'm probably going to just be a little bit more patient with him and just kind of hope that he does better. Will Lundstrom start? I have no idea. I said that he probably will start last game week and he didn't, but then he still scored a goal. So I don't know if he's going to be starting this game week. It's yet to be seen. I don't think that he won't start because of how well he played that other game. If a player comes on and they score, I think it's quite hard for the manager not to play them. I have Tia and Robertson, Bolly and O'Connell, but what midfielders are you playing in strikers? Todd, then we can maybe try and see. Jay saying you have an attachment to Vardy, which is not good for FPL. So I don't think I'm attached to Vardy. It's not really one of those emotional things. I could perfectly transfer him out. It just doesn't really make sense to me why I'm taking out a player that has a Game Week 28 fixture against Norwich and then Aston Villa. when I could maybe make other moves that would hopefully better my squad. Thanks, Jessica. I appreciate it. Will you go with double defense of any team? So the team that I probably would go for is if Sheffield United, maybe Southampton if their defense was a lot better, but probably the number one team would be Liverpool, especially if you're going to go for someone like, if you want to go for someone like Joe Gomez, then he's a really nice budget option to go for. Looks nailed in that lineup. I don't see too much rotation happening there. A transfer plan Barnes for Son, that could be a nice option to go for. I don't know if it's the best move to do this game week, but as long as you're prepared for him not to do well this game week, because it is against Man City, and then just kind of keep him for the others. So Todd, I would almost be tempted to bench Vardy in that case. But if you really want to start Vardy, then I would probably, I think you were asking O'Connell or Bolly. If I was to kind of go for one of those, then I would bench Bolly, because I think Norwich have more of a defensive affinity. They have to go attack almost all the time than the likes of Brighton. What to do with Mahrez? Will he start against Leicester? He probably will start against Leicester, but I don't know if I'd be holding on to him for too long just because of that rotation risk. It's kind of up to you who you go for. He didn't come on last time, so that's probably quite nice to you. But if he doesn't start again, he probably will come on. So it's a really tough spot to be in. But I think if you brought in Mahrez, you had to have accepted the risk that he wasn't going to start every game anyway. So you just got to kind of run with it or get him out. Grealish or Adama this game week. So I would probably lean. That is such a tough spot to be in. I don't know if I'd be wanting to bench either of those. In your spot, I would almost think just flip a coin and then just hope for it. I'd probably say maybe Grealish is a little bit more of an option than Adama, because Grealish's goal threat is a little bit higher than Traore's. I think Traore's right now is on that assisting trend where he's going to be assisting a lot of goals but not scoring too many, whereas Grealish probably going to be on the receiving end if Aston Villa gets something. Vardy differential in my team league, so kind of need him to start. So then I would just bench Bolly. I think that Norwich are more attacking side than Brighton. Thoughts on Arsenal options with good fixtures coming up. So the only thing I would consider, Donovan, is if Arsenal had a double game week coming up shortly, which I don't know if they will, then that would be a consideration for Arsenal. But I'm not too keen on their kind of players. Saint Maxim for a cheeky differential. I think that's perfectly fine there, Matt. I like him as a player. I like players that always take on the defenders, and I think that's the type of player he is. So I don't see a bad thing for that move. But who's a good replacement for Grealish next blank game week? So I'm looking at Harvey Barnes. I think that's probably going to be who I'm bringing in for Jack Grealish. But there are other options. If you don't have Traore, he's also a great option. When did you first start playing FPL? So this is my 4th season, I think, of FPL. That's the only fantasy game I've played. Felix, I answered your question already about why Rico over Lascelles. I just think Rico has a more attacking threat, and I think both of them will concede. Captain Aubameyang or Salah or Mane. So Salah's safety, Mane if you want to go a little bit more differential. But if you had a nice high position, then I would probably just captain Salah. Should you do Kelly to Lascelles instead of Bolly? So I would bring in Bolly, but as long as it's not going to be a benching headache every single game week. If it's going to be a benching headache, then I would just bring in Lascelles and just bench him every so often. Do you think the value Cantwell is worth hanging onto, or slight upgrade to Barnes? So if you're going to be playing Cantwell, then I would look at transferring him out. But if you're perfectly fine with him being on your bench, then just leave him. What is the update for double game weeks? We don't know much yet. Unfortunately, it's only going to become more transparent as these games kind of go on. So as long as the FA Cup goes on and we get some fixtures from there, then that's going to tell us. Because we can't really say who's going to be in the semi-finals of the FA Cup if the previous rounds haven't even happened. With the upcoming Game Week 28 blanks, would it be worth using a free hit or wild card, or save these chips later on in the season? So I would save these chips, Matthew, because Game Week 28 is just the League Cup final, so it's going to be Aston Villa and Man City's fixtures, whereas Game Week 31 is going to be the FA Cup game, so a lot more fixtures are going to get postponed. So I do think that I would be keeping those chips. Ricardo saying good morning from Florida, so that's like, I think that's one of the first times we've had something from America, so glad to have you. I actually have been to Florida, and I really enjoyed it, so glad to have you here. Will you keep Vardy, if he blanks this game week, so I'm kind of expecting him to. I'm just playing him because I always favor an attack over a defender. I don't think he's going to do much against Man City. If he does anything, it's bonus. But I'm simply keeping him for those nice upcoming fixtures. So this is basically going to be the team for this game week. I will hopefully update it on Twitter, and I'll let you guys know if anything does change. If I don't, please forgive me. I'm most probably going to be quite busy tomorrow morning, so I won't have much time to be on my phone, but I hopefully will offer you some updates. But this is so far what we're going to be doing. I don't think I'll be making a transfer. The only situation that could change is probably a Salah captain over Mane, or maybe Lascelles playing over Rico, but otherwise this does look set. Thanks a lot for all of you that did join. I do appreciate it. I know some of you probably will be working right now, so glad that you were able to join us. If you just tuned in, you can always catch this up on the replays. I'll be uploading it as soon as it is finished processing. And otherwise, good luck for Game Week 27. Once again, thank you to OneFootball for being our sponsor for these videos. And thanks to you guys for joining. Hopefully your Game Week 27 is absolutely stellar and we all get green arrows. But I'm going to be signing off. This has been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.